Volkane Sergey. We can start with e4. Plays a Sicilian, pretty high rated. The O'Kelly variation. You can play this against that. The theory is when you see a early a3 there, not the knight, a6 rather. It's not the Najdorf because he hasn't done the other development. So you can choose a line where this a6 move is mostly useless. And so this c3 Sicilian is supposed to be such a line. I don't know if I entirely believe all of that, but that's the theory. So can I harass his queen in some way? I mean, normal would just be to develop the bishop. But I could play knight d2 and then bishop c4, chase the queen off that perch. Let's try it. Stop him from pushing the pawn forward too. He could have played b5 to prevent this. Whether that's good or not, I don't know. He might bring his queen over here, but I cover that with the knight. Could bring it all the way over to the h file. Or I could just go back, yeah. It's castle. I would expect a move like knight c6 here to, yeah, exactly, to put more pressure on this pawn. So I could take, I could defend like this. If I play my knight here and he plays b5, kicking my bishop, I drop back, and he could play c5, kicking my knight. I could drop back, and then it would be all locked up on the queen side. Might be okay, I don't know. But now if he takes, I can at least take back with a piece and not end up with an isolated pawn here. That was my plan. And develop my dark squared bishop with a pin on his knight. Yeah, so he plays there. Probably castling king side. Yeah, instead of pinning the knight, because it's not a pin anymore, I think I'll try to get in bishop f4. And then if he harasses the bishop, I'll drop back to h2. I have to be wary of the pawn fork here. But it's not a threat at the moment. I could play something like queen f3. I wonder if that's interesting. Okay, but he is targeting my b pawn. Let's defend like this. Defend the b pawn, defend the bishop. Keep an eye on the e pawn coming forward. You know, I could have just dropped my bishop back to b3 too. That might have been a reasonable thing to do. I could play knight to f5 because when he takes it, I can take the bishop. So after knight f5, what would he do? Would he just move the bishop? If he doesn't move the bishop, I can take it. That's a good piece. Where could he move it to? Here, here. Yeah, probably to c5. So knight f5, bishop c5. Then what? Anything? And my knight could come back to I could play bishop to e3. He takes the knight. I take the bishop. Actually, that just loses the knight. So why don't I just develop? Maybe at some point knight f5 will be useful. Knight f5, it could go here now to d6. Knight f5, bishop c5, knight d6. It's hit by the queen and the bishop, but defended by the bishop and the rook. It's hitting this bishop here. It's looking at pawns around the king. Might be useful. That kind of maneuver. Okay, so he lifts his bishop up. Let's go ahead and play this now. See what his reaction is. Also, see if I made a mistake in my calculations. One thing I overlooked is that after I take his bishop, he can take my b pawn. So maybe he should just take my knight. I take his bishop. He takes here. Hitting the c pawn as well. But his bishop will be hanging because I'll have the rook as well as the queen hitting it, and it's only defended by the knight. So if he grabs there, maybe I could just take his bishop. He does go for it. Okay, let's see what his follow-up is. Ah, he chases my queen. Yeah, that makes sense. So now I can come back and defend the pawn. Don't have too many squares I can actually go to. I could play here, but then he could take the b pawn, and that's probably not so great. So he wants to trade bishops and repair his pawn structure. Let's just drop back. Okay, so he's got 4 on 3 on this side, and I have 3 on 2 on this side. And he did inflict a little pawn damage there, but, oh, well, I think I'm fortunate to have this move. This knight can hop in here, I guess. So where do I want my bishop? Maybe here? Keep his... Actually, let's hold on a second. Oh no, his rook came in on this file. I was wondering for a second. I was thinking this rook how could it penetrate to my second rank? It can't. The answer is. But anyway, back to the game. Yeah, he can go there. Let's go ahead and post the bishop there. Isn't that a good square for it? Okay, he's going to put his knight there. Oh, and then he's going to attack my bishop. Well, I'll just move my bishop here. Okay, so let's get a rook on an open file. Do the normal stuff. Let's put my bishop here. Wait till he moves the knight. Take away those squares from the knight. Oh, he wants to go for an endgame with the knight versus the bishop. Oh, I don't think that's such a great idea. Yeah, I did let him in. I did let him in. Let's attack the knight first. So if I take the knight and defend the pawn, this is probably a draw, huh? Could attack the knight again. Just trying to find ways. He's covering the entry square here. That's pretty clever. Trying to find ways to activate my rook here. He's finding ways to stop it from activating. Now I could push this pawn. He could take here. I could take here. Takes back. Get my rook behind it. So I'm hoping to round up this pawn and keep this one. We'll see. Can he bring his knight in time or something? No, I take here with check. I could have taken there right away. And I should have. Now I can't. Missed my chance there. Okay, let's bring the king in. So yeah, he ended up a piece up. Well, a pawn up. So I am fighting for a draw now. And we're both low on time. You know, I probably should have. Let's just go for the draw, see if he will accept it. Okay, he does not accept the draw. Okay, yeah. Let's see, what else could I do here that's nothing? Can go back and forth sideways here. I don't know why he's not just repeating moves. If he doesn't have a plan for making progress here, he has a plan. Okay. I have a plan too. He ran out of time. Yeah, there was a lot to calculate there, but he should have just gone for the draw there. Anyway, yeah, let's play another game here. Play a rapid game this time. Water. Water 52. Oh, look, pretty evenly rated. See what we get. Ah. What is that? He's playing the Kala system without playing e3. So he wants to go directly for e4. Let's put pressure on the center. Ah. So he did want to play e3 after all. So that it looks like a Kala system. Let's take once. Okay, we've got a symmetrical pawn formation. He can spoil the symmetry by pinning my knight here and taking. I'll take back with a pawn, and then I'll have a weakness to defend, but he gives up the bishop pair to do that. I could go for a fianchetto, but I think I'll play with this bishop outside the pawn chain instead. The fianchetto idea would be to put a pawn here and bishop here. But when the bishop is here, it's usually not so attractive unless you intend to give up this bishop, because it runs out of squares when you have pawns in front of it like this. Yeah, it looks like he's going to take my bishop anyway. Where do I want him to take it? Maybe I leave it there. But this pawn will be pretty weak. Okay, let's go like this. He has knight to b5, hitting my queen if I put it here. I can put my queen on the light square because I have a dark squared bishop, right? Okay, let's get developed. I'm also attacking the h-pawn here. If he pushes it forward, I have a choice. I could just castle, or I could try and undermine the pawn like this. If he plays like that, he wants to win the bishop. Here, let's drop back. I don't want to give up that bishop. I think it's a good piece here. And it's my remaining bishop. He already traded one of my bishops off. So we're both moving a little too fast here, I would guess, but my opponent especially has not used any time. I've used a minute, but I could have paused to think a little longer, I think. Anyway, pushing the a-pawn to a6, kick the knight back, still take here. I would like to take care of this first. So neither of us will be castling after this, I guess. But it is a pawn. Can he trap my bishop? That's what I should be worried about. I take here, he takes, bishop takes, and he plays this pawn up. Or I could castle. Yeah, I'm really not sure. Let's put the bishop back to a good square while I think about it. I mean, he can play h3 at any time to defend it, but I do have that idea of g5, g4. Maybe that's what I should play anyway. g5, g4, g6, he would take here. Well, now g4 comes with tempo. And he gets in the characteristic break of the Kala system. So pawn takes, knight takes, bishop takes. If I push the pawn first, he will push the pawn. Take the bishop. He can take either knight or bishop. This pawn is loose. He didn't defend his d-pawn. It took me a while to spot that. Yeah, that's something you have to watch out for. So I could just take there, because then if he pushes his pawn, I can take again. And then the bishop here goes with check. So he's not going to be able to find any tempo moves, I don't think. He can move the queen to defend the bishop. Or he could take with the pawn to defend his center. Yeah, he took with the queen. So now if I take here, well, it's knight takes. If I could take with the pawn, it's up the d file. He can't immediately do something. I can take this guy. Okay, let's continue with my plan, which was to push this pawn forward. Now I'm curious. Let me back up for a second here. When I played that, okay, it wasn't until he pushed this pawn forward that became loose. Okay, back here. So back to the same old question. Should I take here? I don't know. Rook takes, bishop takes. It still looks like he pushes the pawn up and my bishop is trapped there to me. Okay, so if we leave that there and we just take the pawn here, he'll take with the knight, I'll take with the knight, he'll take with the queen. And maybe I'll line up. So knight takes, queen takes, it's hitting here. I'm just thinking, just bring my rook out. So rook here, I'm threatening that bishop. He's threatening the pawn. So he can't take with the h-pawn. I'll take his rook. So if he wants to take, he has to take with the f-pawn. And I was thinking a move like bishop to c5 would keep him from castling. He could put his bishop there. Queen b5 would keep him from castling too. Maybe it's more effective because the bishop on c5 would be subject to this pawn push. Well, I could drop back along the diagonal. But I feel uncomfortable with the queen and bishop in this lineup here. If he gets a rook to that file, it's got a ready-made pin there. You know, I could have considered, if we back up a move, I could have considered defending that pawn as well, but then that leaves me pretty weak over here, weak pawn here, and then open on the king side. Okay, so he moved his bishop there. That's interesting. Well, now I'll take. Because I'll be threatening to, well, I'm threatening to take the rook to start with, and then if he takes my rook, I'll have a pawn there, and I'll be threatening to queen. So see how he deals with that. Ah, that's pretty clever. I was thinking he could just castle, actually. Castling might have been a better move here, because if he castles, he'll have a rook here, which will also defend here. I'll have to take a moment to unpin. Where is his king? His king will be here. I can move my queen with check, though. Okay, but anyway, he chose to play there. Let's just see if we can do something here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm 2 pawns up here. And I might lose that pawn, but it should be a good end game for me. Yeah, let's focus on this pawn. Okay, I'm going to lift my rook. I'm going to bring my rook over here to defend my pawn, I guess. It's on a light square, so it won't be so easy for him to evict it. Yeah, but he can bring his king over like so. Okay, let's start marching these pawns. So it looks like he's going to win that one. And I'm just going to go for this bishop and pawn endgame, where I have an extra pawn. These pawns are on light squares, so I think I'm in good shape in this endgame. Probably winning. With this many pawns still on the board, it's pretty close to being like a king and pawn endgame. Okay, this creates a passer for me. And yeah, he's got okay, let's drop back here, keep pressure on those pawns, keep the square in front of my pawn covered. Let's bring my king forward. It's an interesting question. Is he winning this? Or, I mean, is he able to draw this king and pawn game? He takes, I take. He comes forward, I come forward. He takes pawn, I come here. He comes over. We'll get to find out. So my path here is boom, 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 boom. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And his path is 1, 2. Actually, can't go there right away. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think I'm still better here. Just in time. I was miscounting actually, but I'm still better here. Just have to keep his king from getting in front of the pawn. And then it's a win. You know, the rook pawn is a draw, but the king has to be in front of the pawn to stop it. Okay, well, that was a couple of nice wins. I think I will call this a session, and I will see you guys next time. Bye now.